Welcome to SoMo Garage, bringing you the latest racing news, sim racing talk, driver chat, and highlights from the SoMo Racing League with SoMo Racing League drivers. Sunday night at 9 p.m.
Take a look at your temps for me when you can.
Get ready for 1 hour of kicking the tires from the SoMo Garage. Strap in and hold on.
Stay low. Stay low.
Put on your boots. It's getting deep in here.
One more time, buddy. One more. We're going to be fine. All we got to do is just stay calm out there.
Something tells me their tank isn't always full.
What does that mean? Yeah, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. Can you just rivet it up into it? Or just get a drill and rivets and pop it up in there? Get the lower portion of the nose and tap it out. Get a hammer and tap out the lower portion of the nose. You're not going to be able to get that underneath there, I don't think. Guys, I got to hustle up here.
Get ready. The SoMo Garage starts right now.
Good evening and welcome to SoMo Garage. I'm Reilly, joined with Joe Mitchell and Paul Zotta. How you guys doing tonight?
Well, doing alright. Hanging in there, I guess. How you guys doing?
I'm doing all right. I ain't gonna complain. Didn't get washed away, so things are going pretty good. Sunday night.
Yeah. So another week, another week in the books. Another chase race down. Some guys had some really good luck. Some guys didn't have such good luck. I guess we'll start with you, Joe. How was your chase week?
I don't know. Well, I missed 2 races like a complete dummy. So that took me out of the Xfinity chase. It's kind of depressing. Luckily, I had a win Tuesdays, and that got me through. Thursday, I don't know, that was a fun race, all things considered. There was a lot of guys up front and a ton of guys just battling really hard in the top 10. At one point, me and Keith Mayoto made contact, and I thought that I completely ruined his race, and I don't know, I feel like he would be considered the Jimmy Johnson of this league at the moment with the golden horseshoe, because he had damage and still won the race. Even though it was my fault, I talked to him and apologized, but I don't like hitting people. I don't like making contact like that. And my team and I were trying a different fuel strategy, and apparently guys were staying out trying to make it to the end, and we were able to get back on the lead lap. A caution came out. It pretty much ruined everything for us. It put us like way back in the top 10, and yeah, it was just pretty rough. I don't know. Was hoping for a better finish than that, but all in all, I still think that it was an awesome race. It was tight and really hard to pass anybody, but I think it was awesome. There's a lot of really hard racing going on.
Yeah, we know, Paul, you got the spectate for. I don't know how much of the race you got to see, but from your perspective, how did you feel like the race went?
It really wasn't bad from the booth point of view. Looked like it was pretty good. There was a lot of fast guys up front. It just seemed like either guys were really fast or guys were really slow. There wasn't really that middle ground. And, some guys got the setup and some guys didn't get the setup. But I don't know. I kind of expected a little bit more from Charlotte, but I know it's different running in the day than it is running at night. And I know that definitely had something to do with it. And plus, there really wasn't a setup for the daytime race, so we kind of threw one together quickly, which was decent. I felt it was, kind of a level type of setup where everybody could drive it. The only thing is, which I don't really like, is when the setup was made, it always doesn't transfer correct into the server, and it kind of. A lot of guys were complaining. It was amazing to see. Some guys were really tight and some guys were really loose, you know what I mean, on the same setup. So I guess your steering wheel settings and all have a lot to do with it. But I mean, I guess it didn't look bad. I was just upset because I didn't get to run in it. I had to leave at 10 o'clock, so I had a feeling that race was going to run a little bit longer than some of the Tuesday, Wednesday night races. So, and looks like again this week for Talladega, I may not be able to race. So, and that's the only night I raced. So I didn't get to race last week, and I may not get to race this week coming.
Yeah, I think my point of view or my perspective was, for me, it was not a good race. I mean, I ran in the top 10, but I feel like at this point, you got to be in the top 5. You got to be running hard. You got to be in the top 5 and contending to win races to be able to make it to that final 4. And I definitely wasn't there. I mean, I went as far this week as to switch out my wheel. So we'll see what happens Wednesday night. Thursday really won't make that big of a difference, but Wednesday night, I'm hoping for some better results. So I went back to the Thrustmaster T500 RS I had. So that was a really reliable wheel for me in the past. So kind of hoping, I have some better luck on it and some better results here. I feel like the race went well as far as everybody was racing real hard. I know I got into a couple of guys got into me, and nothing major, but it's just a lot of hard racing out there, and that's what you would expect right now at this point in the chase. A lot of guys just running real hard, trying to get that position or two, because it really makes a difference at the end of the day in these chase races. So. But all in all, I think it was a pretty decent week. So just moving forward, I just hope I'm hoping for some better results personally, and I'm sure everybody else feels the same way.
Yeah, well, you're still in the Wednesday night chase, so if you can see if this wheel's going to make any difference for you and get you where you need to be, you should be all right moving on. But I don't know, man. It's just really tough. I know, with all the updates and everything that they've put out, like a lot of things have changed. And, we were talking about, I don't know if it was here or we were just talking about it one day after the race, but it seems like a lot of the newer and younger guys that come into it seem to adapt quicker to it. There are a couple of older guys that are able to adapt to it, but, I'm not saying it's bad with the updates and everything, because obviously, when they do these updates and they learn more stuff, it makes it more realistic and a lot more, together on the track. But the problem is, man, when you were running somewhat decent the season before, then you come into this season and just can't get a handle on it, man, it's depressing.
I kind of have a theory behind that. It goes for real world stuff too. I'm 29. I don't feel like I'm 29. I have like an 18-year-old mentality. So
that's giving yourself a plus. I say 13.
Well, yeah, I guess that's fine. 13 was like my gaming heyday, so I guess we can go with that number. I honestly think it's not really about adaptability or anything like that. I feel like the younger guys, we're just too stupid to know any better, that we just kind of go out and do our thing and somehow make it work. I don't know. It doesn't sound right, but it makes sense to me. Like, older guys, you tend to get set in your ways of doing things with everything in life. You know what I mean? You kind of fall into that category of you've already done something and you want to continue to do it that way because that's what worked. And then things change and you start to see people struggle. And it's with everything in life, not just this or racing. I mean, it could be anything in life. And younger people come along and pick it up quick because they just don't know any better. That's just the way it works, I think.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, I think you're right. I think sometimes, people that don't know the normal come into it and just pick it up right away because they're not having to adapt to, from anything. They just automatically, pick up what's there instead of trying to drive differently from what was there. So, I mean, that does make sense. But you guys are fast. I mean, week in, week out, Keith Miato. Um, I mean, I don't know what that guy does, but I mean, I try following him. I mean, I try everything. Just I figure if I stay behind Keith, he's bound to be up front sooner or later, and you know, I follow him for as long as I can, and then I'll just slowly start drifting away from him, and he'll pull away, and you know, it's amazing. You know, some of these driving styles these guys have. I mean, you know, the first part of a race, Keith will let you go. You know, he'll drop back to fifth, sixth, seventh place and ride it out, and then you'll see him start eating up, you know, positions again and moving forward. And before that fuel runs out, he's almost leading the race already. So, and then he manages to, towards the later part of the race, he's already up front. He's in contention. He doesn't let that you know, that first place get away. So, you know, he's really that's the guy to beat right now. Keith's on a tear. He's winning these chase races. He's going to be the guy that somebody's going to have to beat at Homestead for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I was up in the booth with Steve Thursday calling the race, and we were talking about him, and we noticed, and you know, you see it every week when he on the starts and the restarts, he's okay, but he loses positions, you know, and usually drifts back a couple of spots, 3, 4 spots. But then after 10, 11 laps, 12 laps, he starts creeping back up. And then by the time you get to like lap 20 or so, I mean, he's out front and already has, you know, almost a 2-second lead on everybody. So he's definitely got a good long run car, or a good long run drivability, man. And that, you know, I'd prefer to have that than to have the short run car myself. But man, that's just, you know, well, you see it week in and week out, and we watched it again on 2 separate restarts Thursday night. And just as we talked about it, that's exactly what happened. He drifted back a little bit off the front row, and probably within 15 laps later, you know, he was challenging back for the lead again. And we were like, man, you know, it's just amazing how he can come to life after, you know, a few laps.
This might sound kind of mean, because every time I get around him, I feel like pat myself on the back, because I'm like, good, I got him behind me. I just got to keep him there, and I can't. I don't, for whatever reason. I'm only good for 20 laps, 25 laps tops. If it's a short track, maybe like 30, and then he'll come out of nowhere, and I can't do anything with it. And I went back and watched the last 2 or 3 the broadcasts and everything, just so I can look at the timings. And a lot of times Steven has the intervals up between first and second place, and it never really hit me the amount of corner entry speed I have versus everybody else, basically. If I can watch the ticker drop a lot, like I'll pull in 2/10 on someone on corner entry, and it never really hit me that that's why I suck on a long run, is that I'm way over driving corner entry. But I was talking about it. I was actually talking about it to Keith the other day, and he was like, "You have crazy corner entry speed, and I don't know how you're making it stick, but you make it work." And I said, "Yeah, but it only works for 20 laps." So it's not really a good thing unless we have 20 lap runs and cautions. I said, there's a lot of circumstantial stuff has to fall into place for me to get a win, and I've been fortunate for it to happen that way. And yeah, I need to work on stuff, because he's backing his corners up so far, and like you said, he'll fall back to 7th, 8th place, and I feel like he does it with a smile on his face, just knowing that he's going to come back.
Yeah, I agree. I just, me personally, I mean, I've had a problem all year long, just a really tight race car, and that goes for the Xfinity car and the Cup car, especially the Cup car. I mean, I try to preserve my tires, and it seems like after lap 15, you know, I mean, I'm just, that right front's gone. and I don't get it. I mean, I've tried everything everybody says to try, and it just nothing works. So, kind of hoping going back to this wheel does make a difference. So, I mean, I turned some laps earlier at I think it was Kansas. I think is that where we are this week in the Xfinity car coming up? Pretty sure it
Yeah,
is.
it'll be Kansas in the
Yeah.
Xfinity, and that'll be the first round of 8, I believe it is.
Yeah, so that it actually felt pretty good. There was a little less input that I'm used to. My other wheel was pretty strong, so it had a lot of extra inputs that I got acquainted with. But it's actually kind of nice not having so much going on with the wheel. Kind of helps you stay concentrated a little bit more, and I don't mind feeling a little less bumps here and there, and just kind of have better control of my car. So. Um, kind of hoping, I'm hoping and praying it works out.
Well,
That's
we'll
for
be
sure.
keeping an eye on you Wednesday night to see. Hopefully,
Yeah.
something works. The one thing that I'm not sure of, and I'm not really even sure how to go about it. Obviously, we're closing in on the end of the season pretty soon. In the Tuesday night and Wednesday night series, I believe there's only 4 more races left, and then Winter Series comes, and I think there's 6 more races left in the Thursday night Cup Series. But over the winter, I want to try to use some of that time to, do some work and try and figure out where, my problems are coming. But I don't even know where to start because I don't know what the problem is. You know what I mean? So I feel like even though we're going to have this winter time to try and get stuff, try to have some that extra time and work on things, where do you even start, man? And then where do I even start looking to find a solution? It's like it's so, man. I'm like I'm just like if I had a big hammer, sometimes I think I'd smash it.
Yeah, I mean it's frustrating. I don't know. I went through the same thing about a year ago. I got so mad. I just took 4 months off. Just like I can't take it anymore because no matter what I do, I I'm getting killed. No matter what I do or try or change, my driving style, lines, everything, everything made it worse. Where I just stayed the same, and I I honestly I wish I knew what I did to get more speed out of everything, because I'd post it online everywhere just to let people know because it it feels good to do it. And I didn't quite realize how much speed I had. That, like, a lot of people bring me up in a conversation and say, like, I'm really fast, like I'm one of the guys to beat. And I don't really feel that way about myself. I feel like I have a lot of room for improvement. I did an official race the other day, and lucky me, I got stuck in a race at Charlotte night with pro level guys, black stripe world champion series stuff, and peak antifreeze eligible people, and I got killed completely. I think I qualified third, which was I was right there with those guys, and I was like, oh wow, I didn't know I had that kind of speed. And then the race started, and I went from third to 10th in about 3 laps. So it's there's a lot to learn. I mean, even guys that are in here that are super fast, there's guys out there that are, I don't know, they would come in and just kill us.
And the people that don't iRace, like obviously we all race, we all iRace. Some of us even race or still race out in the world, but you don't realize there's a lot of emotions in this, even though it's just a sim.
Yeah, you're right, and it's treated like a regular race, or a real live race. I mean, that's how these guys are. I mean, there's a lot of racers are emotional, and we come to win, we come to do good, and when that doesn't happen, I mean,
Stand back.
it comes out. So, I think I think that's what I like the most about racing and this sport is the fact that so many guys are out here trying their best, at something, and that just doesn't apply to racing. I mean, other sports are like that too, but I feel like racing, it just brings out the raw emotion in people. It's just it's amazing to see it. I mean, from everything from being mad to an adrenaline rush to just all these different things, and it's just real cool to be part of it. So definitely a lot of fun, week in and week out with these guys.
Yeah, so if you're on the fence about iRacing and you really want to try and get one of their promotional things where like sometimes you get 3 months for the price of one, and you really don't have anything to lose. I think what's it going to cost, 11 or something, $15 or something. You get 3 months. Get on and just get on the track, get in a couple of the different cars that are there and try it, and like you'll be like, wow, I understand now.
So let's talk about Talladega. That's coming up this Thursday in the Cup Series, and that's going to be a big game changer for some guys that are, needing a good finish and potentially could get one there, but also it could potentially ruin their chase and end it right there. Um, what are your thoughts on going forward and getting through this race? Any particular strategies getting played out? Just try to be safe, or just try to stay up front and hopefully stay out of the way and lead some laps?
Oh man, I don't even know where to start. I feel like, I don't know. This is probably the worst race to go into. I don't know if anyone has looked at the point standings or anything. It's close. Like from first to about 10th place there's maybe like 12 points separating everybody. It could ruin a lot of people's hopes to move forward. I'm not looking forward to this race at all. Even with having a team, I think that we have about 5 guys to work with, and we have no clue on what to do. Part of me wants to just be aggressive and stay up front and try to. If you can get a 4 or 5 car breakaway, you're good. If you're out front, but if you can't do it, then you can get in a lot of trouble. And if you stay in the back, I mean, you're hoping for a wreck if you're staying in the back to just eliminate cars basically, and that's more points being gained. But the likelihood of being involved in that too is the chances are very high that you're going to get caught up in it. So I don't know. This is probably the most stressful race. I think that I have more stress about this one than if I were to be in the Final Four going to Homestead.
Yeah, because you can't really control Talladega. You're there, and we've seen it, man. Up front, you figure I'll get up front, I'll stay out of the way. You get caught in it. If you stay in the back, sometimes you get caught in it. You could have a good run going, and all of a sudden, move yourself from the back to the front, and then as you're winding the laps down, obviously now with this being a chase race, there's going to be a lot more aggression and a lot more of that need to. I got to get a win, or I got to get a good finish to move me over. So there's going to be a lot more chances for something to go wrong. So I just think it's going to be, a lot of luck involved in it, and there really isn't a safe spot to start, up front or out back. Me personally, if I was still in the chase, I think I would try and get up to the front and at least take my chances up front and hope the wrecks are going to be behind me.
Yeah, I know a lot of times you could be running in the first or second row and still get wrecked. Somebody bump draft somebody too hard in the top lane, and they turn and take out everybody below them and half the field. So anything could happen. I feel like this package it's a little harder to pass. You can't stay on somebody's bumper. It actually won't really let you. I think it kind of gives you a little cushion of air in between. It's kind of a tough package right now that they got, and it's not, it's not going to be real easy to navigate through traffic unless you got some, key players, some help behind you to get there. So, it's. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and another problem you got too is with the cup cars, the outside line doesn't work. You know what I mean? You have to have half the field up there in that outside line in order to make it somewhat work, and it only works for one or two drivers up front to maybe drop down in front, of the inside line. We see the Xfinity cars, the outside line works great, but you can't bump those cars going in because they'll wreck. The trucks even had the outside line working, but in the cup cars, so it's going to be a bottom groove, and how do you pass? Where do you pass?
Wreck them all.
I mean, I think Joe's got a good. He's got a good thing going, because I mean, if you get 4 or 5 guys working together as teammates, that's a plus. Especially if you decide to run in the back and just kind of run your own race in the back. 4 or 5 cars can, definitely catch a pack of cars. So, that might be a good strategy, or just all be up front. But to get all your teammates to run pretty much all around each other in that cluster is really hard to do. So it's chances are guys are going to get mixed up. They're going to get off pit sequence from everybody else, even if they're teammates or not. It just sometimes it happens that way. So it's really anybody's race at this point. I know some of the GAC guys are really good. I think Len McNeese stands out. Dean Viney stands out in my mind, as they always seem to help each other and are there at the end, most of those guys. So should be a pretty interesting race coming up Thursday.
Well, hey, we're welcome for any more help in the line of guys that we're trying to get going. So it is tough, though, and it, like 90% of the time it works, but then there's those off times where all it takes is one guy to screw up on pit road. If you screw up in the pits and you say, we all call out, we're taking 2 in fuel, and someone's like, okay, and they accidentally take 4,
They're done.
you're gone.
Yeah.
Like a pack of 5, we're not dropping back a quarter of a mile to come and get you.
Right.
So it's tough. Like it can get screwed up pretty quick. So it's stressful even to do that, because you never know what can happen.
Yep. So I guess we'll see what happens this week. All right, guys. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll come back and talk a little NASCAR.
Butler Furniture is a family-owned discount furniture and mattress living room bedroom store based in Mountain Home, Arkansas. Since opening, Butler Furniture has served customers in Mountain Home, West Plains, Harrison, Batesville, Searcy, Russellville, Conway, Cabot, Rogers, Springdale, and Jonesboro. We can help you select your new furniture and mattress living room, bedroom purchase at any budget. We look forward to seeing you at Butler Furniture. Our knowledge of the furniture and mattress, living room, bedroom sets we sell sets us high above the competition. We look forward to seeing you at Butler Furniture.
You think you'll end up free in and tight on? Let's read that manner of our 2 rounds on the right side.
Now back to your hosts.
All right, we're back here at SoMo Garage. All right, guys. Couple of stories stick out this week. One in particular, Denny Hamlin. He grabbed the pole at Charlotte, and also I was reading an article that Denny Hamlin has gotten 1 win and 1 pole in every year of his career. I thought that was pretty impressive when I heard that. That's not an every driver kind of thing. I mean, some drivers go a couple of years without getting a win. So pretty cool that he did get the pole. He's still shy of a win this year. Joe Gibbs has been coming on strong here in these chase races. I don't know if I expect Denny Hamlin to get a win. I don't think he's running well enough right now, although Talladega's coming up and he does run fairly well there. I just feel like his teammate Kyle Busch is who's leading the pack there for sure at Joe Gibbs. So what are your thoughts on that, guys?
I don't know. I think Denny has a couple good tracks coming up. I know he really likes Martinsville and just the way everything is there. He really likes that kind of racing. What's the other one? I mean, Talladega, he's been pretty strong at super speedway stuff. I feel like he'll be up front, but I think there's going to be several Fords up front that he will have to contend with. Those guys have by far been one of the best at the plate tracks, so I don't know. Kyle Busch, I mean, I feel like he is the lead driver of that group right now, and it's kind of crazy to see too that, I mean, those guys, all of Joe Gibbs struggled for pretty much all season, basically. Started to kind of get there in the summer, and then it seems like they're really peaking at the right time. It makes me wonder if they were kind of holding back. You know what I mean?
Right. It reminds me of Tony Stewart. Remember years back when Tony Stewart used to do that? He used to run terrible most of the season, and then the chase would come around, and bam, it was like a light switch.
Yeah, well, he won like 5 races or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. But I don't know. I feel like, I mean, obviously everyone complains about the Toyotas. They got something different that nobody else has and all this other crap and blah, blah, blah. But I still feel like that gap is closing. Like, a lot of teams are really closing the gap on that speed. And it would not surprise me at all to see guys like Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, even Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson. There's just so many guys who have the ability and the equipment, the teams, to pull off a win at any given moment. I think a lot of it is just circumstantial stuff. You've seen late race cautions where Truex has dominated races and ended up losing because, for whatever reason, it seems like those cars don't have short run speed. And, I think circumstances plays a whole lot into it, and I still think anything can happen.
Yeah, I do too. And, I just think, at this point in the season, all these teams are just doing they're pulling out all the stops. They're doing everything they can to get any last bit of speed they can out of these cars. I think that's why you're seeing some of these manufacturers, besides Toyota, starting to creep up and catch up, because, this is the time of the year where, whatever they have, they need to put it down on the table now. There's no leaving anything on the table. You gotta do everything you can to try to, put your cars up front and win races. That's the only thing that's gonna, keep or get you a championship. So Um,
It-
it's gonna go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, and today, if you watched the race today, you had Toyota, Chevy, and Ford up in the front. Where the last bunch of weeks we've been seeing Toyota mostly dominate, and then we started seeing Chevy, starting to make a comeback at it. But then you had Harvick, even Bush was up there towards the front there for a while. I mean, even if you look at the finishing order, I mean, Toyota, Chevy, Ford.
Yeah, it's definitely cool to see, all three of them intermixing, and not just one, brand out there just dominating everything. And it's kind of cool to see that starting to come back around a little bit. And whether that lasts or not, who knows? But um, it's definitely good for the sport and the manufacturers to see that happen right now. I feel like if you have one manufacturer in particular, say Toyota, that's going out there and just dominating all these races, and all these poles and winning races and all that. I mean, it doesn't really look good for the sport. So definitely, I think they're coming a long way.
Looks good from my perspective. I, I like my Toyota guy, so
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's fine. I mean, I'm there with you for sure. Yeah, but Denny Hamlin, we were talking about Denny Hamlin a little earlier. He ended up, he grabbed the pole, led the first good bit of the race, and then he started dropping back, and he ended up having a okay day after that, but he definitely didn't have a winning car the later part of that race. Also, teammate Kyle Busch, he had a rough day. He got into the wall, did a lot of damage to his car. So it wasn't a stellar day for Joe Gibbs Racing, but you can't win them all. But it was just kind of interesting to see Kyle Busch in this situation now, because Kyle Busch is now, I mean, it's a good thing Kyle Busch had a cushion going in, because that's starting to fade away. So he's got Talladega coming up. If Kyle Busch has another bad race, that could be the end for him right there. So that's going to be interesting to see how all that works out.
don't ever bring up any evil thoughts like that ever again.
Well, it's interesting to talk about, because Kyle Busch had a really, really stellar start to the chase, and it just goes to show you that these chase races, one bad race puts you on the edge, and another bad race puts you out. So just that quickly, it could happen. Now he'll have, I think after Talladega, there'll be one more race. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's always a chance for him to come back, win the race, whatever. But and that's the cool part about it. You could be out and then back in, or in and then out. So it's really cool to see how all this comes together. It's exciting, even in the SoMo, to see guys come and go like that. But I mean, we're all driving behind Keith right now, so.
I told them watch us back in the garage area. Like, I got a feeling
right?
somebody's gonna try to take care of that.
I'm coming after that Ethernet cable, man.
It's tough.
Another story that also kind of hit the charts this week: NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, part of iRacing, is coming to an end this Tuesday. 4 drivers are in it: Ray Alfala, Logan Clampett, Ryan Luza, and Bobby Zielinski. They all 4 remain in the hunt for the $10,000 prize. So it's going to be pretty cool to see how that turns out. I got my money on Ray Alfala. I mean, I think he's been on fire, and he's a heck of a driver, and I mean that's who I think is going to take it. But I guess we'll see come Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to not put your money on him. He's the defending champ, so kind of tough not to. I know it was really close last year, but last year it came down to really between 2 guys, and it was him and PJ Sturgis. And this year, I feel like that final 4, those guys are just extremely fast, and I know that they're all going to put everything they have into that race, and I don't know if I could really bet on Ray. That that's tough because Luza's been fast. I know Bobby's ridiculously fast too. Um, Logan Clampett as well. That those guys, they're no joke. I mean, that's how they got in the position that they're in. I think it's an awesome race, and encourage everyone to go and watch that. It should be really good.
What? How many laps do they run? Like what
Not,
percentage?
not a clue.
I don't know if it. I don't know if they run 100% races or not.
I don't think it's 100% races. For some reason, I got stuck in my mind that they run half.
Yeah, that might be.
I want to say it's either 50 or 75% distance. I don't know that it's full. I don't know. I'd have to look into that.
Yeah, it would seem really long, especially for the broadcasts. I yeah, that's interesting. That's gonna be I'm gonna have to look that up and find out because that definitely piques my interest for sure. But yeah, I guess we'll see Tuesday night who comes out the victor in that, and gonna be an interesting race. You guys gonna watch it?
I'm gonna try. It's just tough because of the times that they're on.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about the SoMo racing that night.
You know what
Yeah.
You know what I would like. I would like to get one of those four guys and come run a race with us. Just set up a server, have a non-points type of race, and just compare them to us. You know what I mean? And I don't mean just us three. I'm talking about the league itself. And
That'll be funny.
just to see, would they lap the whole field 4 or 5 times before the race was over, or are there any guys in here that are competitive enough to, give them a little bit of pressure? Might be something to throw an email that way and see if that's something we can't get put together, man.
I don't know. I mean, it would be cool to have them there as kind of like an exhibition type of deal. I don't think that we could even touch them, to be honest. So those guys are crazy fast, and I know that we talk a lot about Keith. Those guys do a lot of what Keith does on the long run thing, but they are smoking fast on a short run. But then I don't know, they flip this switch and go into like conservation mode, and they're still just flying. And I've watched some of the races and the consistencies in their lap times. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we would all get lapped 3 times.
I think that's what probably makes a pro driver right there. Somebody who could run a real fast short run and somehow put together a good long run, a good consistent long run too. I feel like I don't think there's too much of that in our league right now. I feel like, like we were talking about earlier, Keith Miato's a bit slow on the short runs most of the time. And then he has a really good long run car and destroys everybody. But you don't really see somebody putting together both right now. So that would be cool to ever break that code and figure out exactly how they do that. I'm sure it's just a lot of practice and a lot of just doing it week in and week out. Because I know those guys probably have a ton of seat time, so that probably makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
It's all open setup stuff too
Yeah.
that they do, and I don't know what they're doing with their setups, but it's crazy.
Yeah, that's another thing too. I mean, all those setups are tailored to those guys, so they're not all running the same thing. So that's a huge difference because we are. So, just to see, I guess that's when you can really, when the driving styles really come out, is when you're running a fixed setup. You can really tell how the driving styles of certain people, because one guy will be a really good long run, one guy will have a really good short run car. So.
And then you'll have a bunch like me that just in the back and can't get a grip.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll get there, but I mean,
go ahead, man.
No, you got it.
I was just gonna say, I really wish we were able to go to a fixed setup where it wasn't so complicated. You know what I mean? And not so time consuming, because, like, I understand we have a lot of guys here that work, and you don't have the time to dedicate to actually test and start making little changes to see what's better and what's worse. So the fixed setups, obviously work better for us than the open setups. But the what you're limited on in the fixed setups to adjust on your car is rough. If they, which we all talk about, and we hope one day they'll do it. They'll open up track bar and a couple more little things that you can still do in a fixed setup, which I think would definitely help across the board, because with the tracks changing and everything, and you may get in the setup and you may like it. I may get in the setup and it may be too tight for me, and I can go ahead and maybe move a little wedge, move a little track bar, and kind of bring it in more closer to what I want to feel. But I tried messing around with open setups, man, and it's tough, man. You got to have time to dedicate on that. Or like some of these guys, they have people who work with them, that are their crew chief and builders and stuff. So but man, it definitely is a big difference.
Well, years ago they had, thinking back to like NASCAR 2003, there was multiple websites out there that had a gazillion different setups for different tracks, and you could just go there, pick like 2 or 3, download them, and bam, pick one that you like and roll with it, and maybe make minor adjustments to it. But you really don't have that anymore. It's just everybody's kind of making their own deal, and you're lucky if somebody shares one with you. But it's not really like it used to be. So it's tough. Like you said, Paul, it's tough to be somebody who works all the time, does this at a just a fun level, and be competitive like that.
And get the time right.
I feel like if we went to an open setup, we'd probably lose half the guys, because they'd probably get so discouraged it just wouldn't work out, So, but I think it's all right what we're doing. But I'm with you. I feel like if they opened up a few more things, or at least had the option for whoever's setting up these races to allow those certain things to be open. It doesn't seem like it would be that big of a deal to create something like that.
Yeah, but, where you can lock, or even if you went through like an open servers, put the setup in and locked what you didn't want adjusted, but left unlocked, track bar, wedge, maybe some tape, you know what I mean? And just to give you just a little bit more, because right now we got brake bias and, steering offset and steering degrees, which helps, but I even in the older days, like track bar was always one of my best friends on the track, because you get out there, you run a while, when the track would change a little bit, you could move your track bar and you can tune your car in, and almost be where you were at the beginning, or even better sometimes,
I've had this argument with several people, because a lot of guys say, oh, if you open up the track bar, it's not really a fixed setup then anymore, is it? And my response to that is that, NASCAR has an in-car track bar adjustment. I'm not asking for track bar adjustments on pit road. It's an in-car adjustment. I feel like if it's in the car, in the cockpit, we should be able to control it. Like, you can control the brake bias. Why can't we have a button or a roll switch to control the track bar, to adjust the changes throughout a run? And that's all I want. It would be nice, because then you wouldn't hear everybody all the time, oh, it's too tight, I can't drive it, this setup's a piece of crap, yada yada yada. You can make brake bias adjustments that will affect your corner entry. Your track bar will help through the corner. I think it would be a good thing if that ever got opened up for us.
And especially now with the tracks changing, even in a fixed setup, you have to have a way to try to keep up with the track.
Yeah, I really agree, and I think that would be a major game changer for a lot of guys. And the guys that are against it, I think once they started doing it, they'd probably realize that it's a major advantage to be able to have those in-car adjustments in a fixed setup. I even complain about what we have now because even with the brake bias, I think we should be able to go end to end with the brake bias. I don't think it should just be 3% one way or the other.
Yeah.
I mean, having built and worked on several race cars and owned one, you, you get a lot more than 6%
Yes.
in real life. You can shut brakes off, basically. Like you can shut the rear off, you can shut the front off, and I don't know, it's just not set up right. I've sent emails to that and I've gotten no response at all, which is very, very surprising, sarcasm included.
I think that hurts a lot of guys because a lot of guys that say run a lot of rear brake during a race, it really, really hurts their pit entry because they have to be really careful when they're getting on pit road, where you could just turn the dial all the way the other way so you can blast on the pit road as fast as you want. I think that would be awesome if we could ever get to that point and open up the track bar.
And you never know, we may, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They always listen. And the thing that I didn't like was, when I made the comment about it in the forums, guys were like, oh, well, then you might as well just run an open setup because that's not a fixed setup anymore, and I was like, dude, like, you're not even listening to what we're saying, so I ain't gonna sit there arguing with you about it.
And I think iRacing is slowly catching up. We just got word that the animated pit crews are coming, so that's going to be cool. Definitely, it's more of a wow thing. It's not really going to affect us in any way, other than we're going to see that. But I think slowly but surely we're kind of catching up to the times here, because there's games. Let's just face it. There's games out there that already have stuff like that. So Papyrus, has had that for years and years. Before iRacing ever existed. As we know, a lot of these guys that do iRacing did that too. But it's just amazing how long it's taking to catch up. But I think the oval has always been the kind of the stepchild in this deal. It's road course has been huge with iRacing.
And I think iRacing in the beginning, it was like, I think they had the NASCAR licensing stuff pretty much right out of the gate, and a lot of emphasis was put on the oval stuff first, and then it got road related, and I think that's where we're at right now, is that and then they have all the other stuff going on with dirt, and then they're trying to work on rallycross. It's really hard to cater to a worldwide audience, and I know it gets frustrating because it is expensive, and it's not like memberships, content, everything. It's not cheap, and it adds up over time. And when you're catering to a worldwide audience, you're gonna have a ton of complaints. No matter what, doesn't matter. You're never gonna make anybody happy. That's just the way it is. But I think that they do great for the amount of employees that they have, considering they have 50 to 60 employees doing all of this and trying to cater to a worldwide audience. I think that's why the progress seems so slow from our perspective. So I know they're working really hard, and it is tough, but I give them credit for what they're doing.
Yeah, we all want to see more, and we want this and we want that now, but for what they're having to keep up with, and all the people that are on iRacing, you're 60 against how many people? There's a lot going on, and I think we just need to remain patient, and eventually I think we'll get what we want, and until then we just have to deal with what we have
and figure it out along the way.
All right, guys. One quick thing here before we wrap up the show. Few guys chasing history. One's chasing his first championship. The other's chasing another championship. And we're talking about Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex. They all got the same goal in mind. They want to win the 2017 Monster Energy Cup Series title. Not being biased, Joe, who, who do you think has the best chance of winning the Cup title this year?
I really think, considering what happened to Kyle today, and Talladega coming up, and Kansas as well, it's not been a great track for him. He did win there once, but I think that's the only time he ever finished a race. He usually wrecks. As much as I like him, I don't see him advancing to the round of 4. At this point in time, I really have to put it between Martin Truex and Kyle Larson. I don't know. I feel like those two have shown the most consistency throughout the whole year.
Yeah, I don't know about Kyle Larson. I mean, just when he surprises me, he does something, or he just has a couple of bad races after that in a row, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, I get what you say about the consistency because I mean he's put himself in a position, where he's at now, but Martin Truex, I think, is the guy that everybody's going to have to beat this year. And I think it showed today how strong his team really is because they had, let's put it this way, when the green flag flew, they did not have a good car. They had a 10 to 15th place car, at least. And they worked on it, and they ended up winning the race today. So I think that just shows how dedicated and how good that team is right now to come back from something like that and win the race. So I don't think Jimmy Johnson's. I don't think that team is there this year. I just, I mean, I wouldn't count him out, but I would say that Martin Truex is going to be the guy.
Yeah, I mean, going by the whole season, I agree. Truex has been the guy to beat all year. Everyone's been chasing him. I don't know. Something tells me Kyle Larson is going to be a surprise. Like, I don't know if he's going to win, but I know something tells me he's going to make it very difficult on him if he makes it to the final race.
Yep. Well, one thing is for sure, we will find out before too long. All right, Paul, you want to let us in on what's going on this week in SoMo?
Yeah, try to get it in real quick. Tuesday night is the first round of 8 in the Portside Jaguar Land Rover Truck Series at Martinsville. That'll be right here at 8:45 Tuesday night. Wednesday night will be the Lazy Days Racing Xfinity Series at Kansas for the first round of 8. That also will be here at 8:45. Thursday night on PBR Broadcasting will be the round of 12 at Talladega. That's going to be a pretty rough one. That's in the Cup Series. Anything can happen there, and we'll see who's going to be able to move on from those. Monday night, there will not be any race at GAC. Real quickly, we just want to send out our thoughts and prayers to Dean Viney. Got bit by a spider. I guess it was really poisonous, and ended up in the emergency room. They ended up having to do some surgery on his hand and dig down into the bone to try to get the poison out. So if you're listening, Dean, just let you know we're praying for a quick recovery, but GAC won't be racing this Monday. We do broadcast them, so that'll be postponed till next week. And we'll be back again next week here at the garage.
All right, guys. As always, it's a pleasure every week, and we'll catch you here next week. Have a great week.